NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN coming at you this Thursday, September 25th. And it's a big week for late model stock racers all across the country as they descend on Martinsville Speedway. Our special guest this week is a driver who knows a thing or two about winning a grandfather clock. And he's also now an 8-time South Boston track champion. Payton Sellers joins us here on Coast to Coast to talk about his big track championship, but also what we're going to expect this weekend for the Valley Star Credit Union 300. Plus, the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly National Championship unofficially is over. We'll tell you how it broke down and who possibly will be walking away with the national title here in 2025, plus a whole lot more, including your calendar, previews to Martinsville, and of course, ARCA out in the plains of Kansas. That's all next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, and it all starts right now. Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast on this Thursday, September the 25th, 2025. Your host, Chris Wilner, and joining us to kick us off on the broadcast here today is, of course, a driver who needs no introduction, now 8-time South Boston track champion, and, of course, a former winner of the Valley Star Credit Union 300, which is coming up this weekend, Payton Sellers. Payton, appreciate you joining us, my friend. How excited are you to not only close the book on South Boston as a champion again, but we get to look forward to Martinsville. This is the best time of year.
Absolutely. You know, the weather's starting to turn a little cool in the mornings, and it's definitely Martinsville time. So we've had a good year, nothing to complain about. Just kind of eyes focused right now on Martinsville for sure. The last couple of weeks have been very refreshing. It was a long, hard-fought season at South Boston this year, running against Trevor Ward and Landon Thimelin every week. And to be able to get that 8th championship was very, very special. And, you know, now we're equally as focused on Martinsville this weekend.
You've done this a time or two at South Boston, Payton, but this year in particular, what made the title fight so narrow and really just what made this year so different than maybe your previous 7 championships?
Well, to be honest with you, you know, the others, not that they come easy at all, but this year South Boston had an incentive program where they had an extra $20,000 in a points fund for the year. And it brought some good guys up there, and competition was at an all-time high. You know, me and Trevor Ward entered the last race tied in points, tied for the same amount of wins for the year. And it came down to who beat who the final night. So those are the kind of points championship battles that the fans like to see. But as a driver, you're always, you know, anything can go wrong at any time in that race. But when I went into that final night, I knew that I had to beat Trevor by one spot. Whatever it took, I had to beat him by one spot. I didn't know that he was going to run second. I had to win in order to beat him. That was where it come down pretty tight there at the end. So, man, it was a relief for that. But you know, I had a little bit of bad luck through the year. Trevor had a little bit of bad luck through the year, but we basically we mirrored each other all year long in our performance and our results.
You mentioned you had to beat him, and clearly it went down to winning the race, but what better way to end it than just to dominate the night, right? I mean, if you're going to script it that way, that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely. No, the fans definitely got their money's worth, and all year long, it was good racing all year long. So, you know, it will bring the fans back next year for sure. They'll remember it.
Okay, so I know we still have racing to do this year, but as we look ahead, I want to look back to as well. Beating David Blankenship's record that he set back in 98, what does that mean to you as a guy that I'm sure you watched racing, you probably competed against a little bit as well, but to surpass him, what does that mean to you in your career?
Yeah, I never had the pleasure to race against David, but I always followed him, watched him growing up through the years. I mean, there's so many legends in our area that raced, you know, that David Blankenship's and Maurice Hills, and, you know, David Blankenship just was the kind of guy that you want to mimic yourself on driving. He was a championship driver. He never put himself in a bad spot. He was just smooth as glass the whole time. And that's why he got those 7 championships. Now, I don't put myself in that category at all, but watching him race at a young age is what definitely helped set the stage for how I wanted to race and how I wanted to be on the track.
This is a family sport, and I know I've gotten to meet your brother HC several times at Martinsville, but to do it, you know, the last, gosh, I don't know how many years now with him by your side and on your team, how special is this to do it as a family?
Well, honestly, this sport is all about confidence. And every week when I pull into the track, go through the gate, I know I've got my brother right beside me. He has confidence in me. I've got confidence in him. And we're never questioning each other. We're always looking forward and trying to make each other better. That's what it's all about. And the fact that I've got my wife in the stands with our little girl, and I've got my mom in the stands filming the races, and my dad's on the mic spotting for us. I mean, it's a true family affair, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I truly enjoy it, and the peace inside of me that I have when I'm going to race with my family is second to none.
So we get a little bit of a break. Now we put our eyes and our attention on the Valley Star Credit Union 300 this weekend at Martinsville. You're one of 7 defending winners back in the field again, 79 cars. What is the lead up to this event like? When you put a bow on the South Boston season and you get this kind of reset, what kind of goes into the prep work that goes into this weekend?
Just making sure that nothing falls off the car. It's a very limited practice. It's 3 hours of practice for 80 cars. It goes right into qualifying after that. If you have any hiccups in practice, you're going to have a hard time getting your car right for qualifying. So you've got to just cross every T, dot every I, make sure that your car is as ready as it can be, because once you get to the track, you've kind of got what you've got. Experience does help that as far as learning what I need quicker, but there's so many good guys out there that run the Cars Tour, that run weekly shows at different tracks that have fast cars. You know, there's going to be legitimately 30 cars that can win this race if they get the lead in the last segment. So it's just a matter of getting clean air and staying out of trouble for the race, saving your brakes, putting yourself in good spots. But the most important part of the whole day, driving a smart heat race. Nobody's guaranteed in. You've got to race your way in. You've got to put yourself in position in the heat race to not be that guy that gets knocked out on the last lap.
Absolutely. You mentioned practice, the 3 hours going right into qualifying. With all the experience that you've had, what is the feeling that you're looking for on the setup of your race car when you go around Martinsville? At what point you're like, okay, this is what I need right here. What does it take to get around Martinsville the best way?
I'm still working on that. I'll be honest with you. But no, the track is going to be somewhat gripped up and have maximum grip on Friday night in qualifying. The air is going to be chilled. The cars are going to run good. They're going to hit the chip hard. And then when you drop the green flag on Saturday night, the track is going to take a lot of rubber. About halfway through the first segment, it's going to cake up on the track. You're going to be fighting front grips, sliding the tires through that. They're going to clean it each segment, and the rubber cleans off. But usually by the end of the race, it's still caked up on there, and you're losing front grip quite a bit. So you're looking for a way to cut through that rubber and just try to find front grip throughout the race as the track takes rubber with 40 cars on the track running as hard as they can run. So with that being the case, you're just looking for front grip the whole time.
This race is so unique. It's so special. And getting to broadcast it last year for MRN was a true treat. But as somebody from Danville, just down the road, what's the magnitude of this race for the locals, and what does winning this race do for your career?
It's a true blessing to be able to race close to home, to have clearances right there on 220, right by the track. Danville Toyota's right here in Danville, 30 miles from it. I have not been into a restaurant or to a store this week. It started at church on Sunday morning. Everywhere I go, people say, hey, man, we're going to be up there Saturday night watching for you. We'll be pulling for you, or we'll be tuned in on Flow watching. Somebody is engaged everywhere I go right now to this race coming up this weekend. And, they'll have 40 or 50,000 people in the grandstand Saturday night. Flow will have it live on TV. I'm assuming MRN is carrying it this year. So there is a lot of opportunities for people to follow that race and track it to watch your favorite driver.
I know. Unfortunately, this year we will not be there. And for the conflict with Kansas just ran out of resources, but hopefully we'll be back. I know I will be locked into Flow while I'm multitasking out there at Kansas. That's for sure. But what else did we learn last year about the F45 tire there at Martinsville? I know some tracks, I think South Boston used to run the ST as well, the Hoosier tire, but how does this tire behave at Martinsville from what you're accustomed to?
So over the winter, they went to more of a common tire for the F45s. Between us, the Star tire, which is what the Cars Tour runs. It's what South Boston runs. I'm not sure the sizing of the tire they're going to bring this year, so that will affect our gearing just a little bit. But at the end of the day, the tires are going to hold up fine. They've been blistering some this year, but I think that was due to long green flag runs. The way the segments are, we're going to qualify. They're going to cure out a little bit. We're going to have a heat race. They're going to cure out a little bit. And then we'll run the first half of the race on those same tires. So I don't think you'll see any tires having any failures, but the way these tires wear, it's very, very odd because it's minimal wear. You can run the car extremely hard every lap, and they don't give up on you. These tires are going to be really fresh because Jimmy Doughton and the guys always bring fresh tires to Martinsville, so it's going to be a little different than what we've been racing on in our local short tracks or the Cars Tour. So the tires are going to hold up very well. You're going to see really quick speeds in the race. You're not going to see much fall off.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch, that's for sure. Also exciting are those heat races on Saturday. Peyton, what's it like strapping in, going out for a heat race, just with how chaotic they've typically been over the years?
Anybody that tells you that they're really comfortable going into a heat race, even if they have the fastest car all weekend, they're lying to you, because it's such a crapshoot. You've got to get through those 25 laps with no mechanical failures, no hiccups on a restart. Guys can hit. You can be, the fastest car out there, and a guy hit a curve inside of you and slide into you and turn you around. I see things like that happen. As much success as we've had at Martinsville as our team, there's no guarantee that any of the three cars we're taking up there is going to make the show. So it is what it is. Everybody has the same amount of pressure on them. I don't care if you're the fastest car or the slowest car. You've got the same amount of pressure trying to get in that top 10 before the end of the heat race.
Well, before we let you go, we mentioned the 79 cars. Ty Majeski's coming back after a couple-year hiatus. Of course, you're going to be racing against your track champion foe and Trevor Ward, who's won this race. Connor Hall going for the Virginia Triple Crown. Just how stacked is this entry list every year?
It is. I'll be quite honest with you. When you've got the JR Motorsports cars and guys like Majeski, who is obviously succeeding in the Truck Series and doing well, and you've got the cars competitors that are there every week. It doesn't get easy. It gets harder every year. The competition, the gaps get a lot tighter every year. You find yourself as a driver having to make bolder moves each year because the competition level is so high. If you're waiting on that clear from a spotter, if he says, clear by 2 inches, you'd better get down or get up, whatever you need to do there, because those holes are going to fill right now with the way the competition is. And that usually, these tires not falling off like they do, that breeds more cautions because everybody's running on that ragged edge. So I don't see anything being easy about Saturday night, although I feel very confident in our position going into the weekend. I'm cautiously optimistic about it because I know we've got speed. I know we've got as good equipment as anybody out there, but there's an element that goes into Martinsville in that paper clip that you can never wrangle. You never, get the pulse of it until you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to following all along this weekend, Peyton, and best of luck to you. I know you've got one grandfather clock. Where is it, and does it have a room for a sibling maybe possibly after Saturday night?
Well, I just hope everybody goes to Clarence's Steakhouse when they come into Martinsville. The clock is there presented in a trophy case for everybody to see. Come by and get some great food and support a local company that supports racing and has for the last 50 years. And you might not pull for the 26 car, but support the local sponsors that support the series and the racers around. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get that orange and white 26 up front.
Absolutely. Yeah, Clarence's is definitely a must, especially for the MRN crew. We're always hungry when we go up to Martinsville, so that is a for sure stop. Peyton, thanks for the time. Best of luck this weekend. We'll catch up with you down the road.
Have a great day. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Payton Sellers, 2022 winner of the Valley Star Credit Union 300, as well as now an 8-time track champion at South Boston, getting set for action-packed weekend at Martinsville Speedway. Certainly jealous of the folks getting to go up there this weekend. Plenty more to come here on Coast to Coast, including an update on the NASCAR Weekly Series National Championship point standings and a good preview of all the racing headed your way this weekend. That's all next here on Coast to Coast on MRN.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Appreciate Payton Sellers for joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast as we welcome you back, and certainly have a lot to talk about when we get to Martinsville here in just a little bit. But let's take a look back at last weekend ARCA Menard Series at Salem Speedway. What a high-banked, fast racetrack, but no problem for Brendan Butterbean Queen. With his 7th victory of the season, he is now pretty much padded a insurmountable points lead of 56 points going into the final 2 races of the season, of course, coming up at Kansas and then at Toledo, but had to survive a late race restart as well to get it done. Max Reeves, who won the pole, brought out a late caution, and then, of course, LeVar Scott anxiously trying to drive for his first career win. Comes up short after Brendan Queen got around him. LeVar actually fell back to the 4th position. A good run for Leland Honeyman in his second race with Venturini Motorsports with a top 5 in 3rd. And Andrew Patterson, I think, was kind of lost in this story. One of the best finishes, if not the best finish of his career, a runner-up second for Wayne Peterson Motorsports. And we'll see Andrew back in action this weekend at Kansas. So a really good run for Andrew Patterson. Isabella Robusto, again, rounding out the top 5. Of course, we take that 56-point lead for Brendan Queen as he goes to Kansas, where he is the defending winner. We'll talk about that race in just a little bit. The Ground Pounders NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, the Mohegan Sun 100. Arguably is always one of the best races of the year. This one certainly lived up to the hype because it ended with Tyler Ripkema not only getting his first career win, but doing so with 3 wheels. Lost the right front after getting tagged in the back by Justin Bonsignor, coming to the checkered flag, hit the outside wall with the right side of the car, sheared the right front off, and he just kept digging. Right across the start-finish line, beating Justin Bonsignor there at the stripe. Craig Lutz was right there as well. What an emotional first win just by the way it happened. But Tyler Ripkema, who's been trying now 83 starts, got it done in Old Blue, as a matter of fact, as well. The Bowler Racing Enterprises number 3. So such an iconic race car goes to victory lane at the Magic Mile with a first-time winner. That's an amazing story script in the world of modified racing. So what a job for Tyler. Wasn't going to lift on that last lap restart. Certainly did it. Got up underneath and around Justin Bonsignor. Justin tried his might to get back to the outside, but ended up putting Tyler in the wall, and that's all she wrote. So congratulations to Tyler. 8 years, 83 races later, finally gets his elusive first career Whelen Modified Tour win. Of course, this just means the points continue to sharpen back up a little bit with Justin Bonsignor right on the heels of Austin Beers as they go in a couple weeks' time to that rescheduled Eddie Partridge 250 at Riverhead on October the 4th. And speaking of modifieds, the Smart Modified Tour kicked off round 1 of its postseason playoffs. Of course, 5 drivers eligible for the championship. We eliminated 1 after this past weekend after Danny Bone got by Jake Crum on the final restart to get his win at Franklin County over the weekend. But again, what we eliminated was Joey Coulter, the lowest finishing of the 5 drivers. So moving on to next week, actually, matter of fact, a couple weeks' time, out at the Freeman Hoosier 99 on October 11th at Tri-County will be Luke Baldwin, Jake Crum, Ryan Newman, and the youngster, 14-year-old Paulie Hartwig III. So those drivers now, we will eliminate another one at Franklin County before we move on to the championship. Some other winners over the weekend, a big tip of the cap and congratulations to Marc-Antoine Cameron, making history in the NASCAR Canada Series, won the season finale, which locked up the championship, the first driver in series history to go back-to-back with consecutive championships as he got it done in the XPN 250 at Autodrome Montmagny. Again, came in 14 points up on DJ Kennington. DJ had a really strong run as well, but could not catch Marc-Antoine Cameron for the title. And again, Andrew Ranger also was mathematically eligible, finished just outside the top 5 in 6. So NASCAR Canada in the books for 2025. Hopefully we'll catch up with Marc-Antoine Cameron coming up in the next couple of weeks. Chase Prisnall won the Owasso Nationals for the Jeg CRA All-Stars Tour, his second win on tour of the season there in Owasso. And Johnny Clark, the legend, back to Pro All-Stars Super Late Model victory lane with his win over the weekend at White Mountain Speedway. Some news and notes you may want to pay attention to. Well, we talked about at the top of the show, the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly National Championship unofficially complete. The final races were this past weekend. We're still waiting word from NASCAR on the official announcement for your titleist, but it came down to Jacob Gady and Chase Johnson. Jacob Gady from Minnesota running at Elko needed to win at least one race this weekend to possibly secure the title. He did that. Unfortunately for Chase Johnson, a little farther south here, just up the road in Virginia at Dominion Raceway, had had problems in one of two features today or over the weekend, so it put the points battle right tight, but we think Jacob Gady will clinch it after his win at Elko over the weekend. Again, that's unofficial, but those points were tight coming in. Just 2 points separated those two. We'll await NASCAR's decision later this week and get you our NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts weekly title list on the show in the coming weeks. But certainly Jacob Gady looks to be the one that took over the top spot, and a tough break for Chase Johnson because he was trying to be the youngest national champion at just 17 years of age, going against the wily veteran in Jacob Gady. But again, we'll get those official results tallied as soon as NASCAR makes that announcement. Some regional racers going out west to Kansas here, from at least out west from our studios here in Charlotte. Brendan Butterbean Queen, late add to the Colleague Racing stable. He'll make his second start for the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Colleague Racing, of course, after his debut at Bristol. And Justin Bonsignor back in the 19, fresh off again that dramatic finish in the Mohegan Sun 100 at New Hampshire. He'll be in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 this weekend at Kansas. Speaking of Kansas, coming up, the Reese's 150 for the ARCA Menard Series. This Friday, you can listen to the broadcast live, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Motor Racing Network. Kicks off our busy weekend out there at Kansas. It's the second stop of the year. Of course, Brendan Butterbean Queen with the points lead is your defending winner. Some interesting driver shuffles, though, in this one. We've got Gio Ruggiero going to make his return to ARCA Menard Series competition, running the Joe Gibbs Racing 18 that we've typically seen Brent Cruz as well as William Sawalichin. Taylor Reimer, an astute dirt racer, is going to make her return to ARCA competition as well. She's been doing some late model racing. She'll be in one of the Nitro Motorsports cars, that is, with that Toyota sponsorship. And then also Corey Day is back in ARCA competition. He's been doing really well in the trucks as well, with a couple of top 5 finishes, including that really good runner-up at IRP. He'll be in the Spire 77. So we'll have some contenders for Brendan Queen, but certainly the notebook is good for the Pinnacle Racing Group when they go back to Kansas coming up Friday night on MRN at 8 p.m. Eastern. ARCA West out at Madera for the Madera Ford and West Coast Stock Car Motorsports Hall of Fame 150. 3 races to go in their championship. It's all Trevor Huddleston leading Kyle Keller just by 12 points. Trevor Huddleston, a winner back at Madera as well. Kyle Keller, though, they've been hot with that Jan Qualkenbush race team. Both Kyle Keller and his teammate, Robbie Keneally, also getting wins in the last couple of races. So the momentum may be on their side, but it'll all be eyes focused on Trevor Huddleston as he looks to try to win that championship again with a 12-point lead going into this week. And a late start for those on the East Coast, 10:30 Eastern. You can watch that race on Flow Racing. And, of course, the Valley Star Credit Union 300, the 30th running of this illustrious late model stock event, the richest late model stock race in the country each and every year. 79 cars on the entry list. We talked to Payton a little bit about what to expect, but it all comes down to qualifying Friday and those heat races on Saturday to lock in the top 40 starting spots for the feature event. 7 former winners in the field, including Payton's going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be hard to really take your eyes off Connor Hall because, again, the Virginia Triple Crown also up for grabs as well, with Connor Hall leading that with a 1.5 average finish after winning at South Boston Speedway in round 1 of the Virginia Triple Crown. So we'll see what happens there. Ty Majeski's in the field as well, going to run for Chad Bryant Racing, teaming up his first start in this event in 2022. Thank you for the trucks being off this weekend. Bobby McCarty, of course, Mike Looney, can never count out Mike Looney, Landon Huffman, Ronnie Bassett Jr., and a ton more entered in this one. Going to be exciting. Friday night qualifying. Saturday, the show begins 2:45 on Flow. I know I'll be locked in my breaks of the day out there at Kansas Speedway on Saturday, but certainly going to be interested to see what happens there at Martinsville. And some other racing this weekend, the Napa Fall Final, that is, at Stafford Speedway. Shout out Kyle Rickey. This Friday and Saturday, that wraps up racing at Stafford Speedway. Championship night as well for the ASA Southern Super Series and Blizzard Series at Five Flags. That also will feature Keelan Harvick and Kevin Harvick. They're making an appearance down there again as that duo continues to battle as father and son. We'll see who takes the cake in this one at Five Flags Speedway. Of course, the runner-up or run-up to when we get to the Snowball and the Blizzard or the Snowflake coming up in December, and of course also championship night at Riverhead Raceway. So a lot of racing still to come as we wrap up 2025. For MRN, again, we are out west in Kansas. Coming up this weekend, we mentioned ARCA will kick off our broadcasting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on Friday night. And then Saturday, of course, a doubleheader with Cup Series practice and qualifying, 1 p.m. Eastern time, that airtime. And then immediately following will be the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoff race from Kansas, the Kansas Lottery 300 at 3:30 Eastern. NASCAR Live Race Day gets you set for the Cup Series Hollywood Casino 400 on Sunday. That broadcast begins at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I know both Pat, our producer, and I are looking forward to going out there to Kansas this week and having a good time. Maybe get some barbecue, but of course, cover some awesome racing as the playoffs continue to heat up in the NASCAR world. So appreciate Payton Sellers for joining us. Best of luck to him and all the late model stock racers headed down to Martinsville this week. For Pat, I'm Chris. Appreciate you joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast here on this Thursday. We'll look forward to breaking it all down, especially all the action from Martinsville next week. Have a good one.